Shanti. Let's take a moment in silence and experience the oneness with Baba. I, the soul, is the child of that Supreme Father, and under his canopy, I connect with him with his energy and shower myself with that pure higher energy. And in this stage, set myself on to listen to his knowledge that today he's showering on me. So let's together read Baba's Murli. Original date of the Murli is 6th of November 1987. The original date of the Murli is 6th November 1987. Title of the Murli is The Way to Become a Constant Server is to do 4 types of service. The whole Murli revolves around what are the different kind of services that I, the soul, can perform as an instrument of my Father. Today, the world benefactor, world server Father, is looking at all his cooperative world server children. To what extent is each child, as well as being a constant easy yogi, a constant server? In your Brahmin life, the balance of both remembrance and service makes you constantly worthy of receiving blessings from Bab Dada and all the elevated Brahmin souls. Today, Baba is telling to receive the blessings. What is the method he's speaking about? Is to have balance of both remembrance and service. And that will make you constantly worthy of receiving blessings from Bab Dada and all the elevated Brahmin souls. It is only at this conference age and in this Brahmin life that you can receive blessings from God and the Brahmin family. This is why in this short life, you easily receive all attainments for all time. This conference age can be called the special age of blessings, and this is why this age is also called the great age. On the basis of every elevated action and every elevated thought, the Father Himself constantly continues to give blessings from His heart to every Brahmin child. This Brahmin life is a life in which you grow with the sustenance of blessings from God. With an open heart, the Father, the innocent Lord, is giving you children aprons filled with all blessings. However, the basis of receiving all of these blessings is the balance of remembrance and service. If you are a constant yogi, you are also a constant server. Let's underline this. If you are constant yogi, you are also a constant server. Does the importance of service always stay in your intellect? Some children think that only when they get a chance, the means, or the time to do service will they do service. However, just as Bab Dada enables you to experience remembrance constantly and easily, in the same way, service also can be done constantly and easily. So today, Bab Dada was looking at the chart of service of the server children. Until you become a constant server, you cannot become experienced in receiving blessings all the time. For instance, when you do service according to the time, according to the chance, or according to the program, then what happens? Then Baba says, as a result of that service, you receive success and blessings from the Father and the family, but that is not for all time. Therefore, because of receiving those blessings, you sometimes experience easy progress in yourself and service. However, at other times, because there isn't the balance of constant remembrance and service, you experience success after having labored at it. Today, Baba is telling you how you can become a constant server and the importance of that service. Throughout the day, you can do many different types of service. In that, the first service is of oneself. That is, always pay attention to yourself in becoming complete and perfect. You have to make yourself pass with honors in all the main subjects of this study. You have to become an embodiment of knowledge, an embodiment of remembrance, and an embodiment of dharana. You have to make yourself complete in everything. Let the service of the self always be in your intellect. The service of the self automatically enables you to serve through your perfect form. However, the method for that is to paying attention and checking. You have to check yourself, not others. The second is world service, which you do in various ways and with various methods, through words and through relationships and connections. You know all of this very well. Baba says the third service is of the yajna, which you do with your body and money. The fourth service is with your mind. Wherever you live, you can serve many souls with your pure feelings, elevated wishes, elevated attitude, and elevated versions. Sorry, elevated vibrations. Wherever you live, You can serve many souls with your pure feelings, elevated wishes, elevated attitude, and elevated vibrations. The way to do this is to become a light and might house. From one place, a lighthouse serves far, far away. In the same way, from one place, you can become instruments to serve many. If you have accumulated so many treasures of the powers, you can do this easily. There is no problem about getting physical facilities, the chance, or the time for this. You simply need to be full of light and might. Let the mind and intellect always be free from waste thoughts. Let these easily be embodiments of the mantra Man Mana Bhav. Can all these four types of service not make you a constant server? Having all four types of service, you can continue to do any type of service at every moment, and you will easily become a constant server. And because of being constantly occupied in doing service, because of remaining constantly busy, you will easily become a conqueror of Maya. Out of all the four types of service, do whatever service you can at whatever time, but do not deprive yourself of doing service for even a second. You have to be a server for all 24 hours. You are not a yogi or a server for just 8 hours, but a constant server. This is easy, is it not? If nothing else, then service of the self is good. Whatever chance you have, you can do that service at any time. Because of their bodies or because of not having time, what do some children say? Baba says some children think that they are unable to do service. However, out of all the four types of service, if you remain busy in any type of service as is appropriate, you accumulate marks in the subject of service, and these marks will be added to your final result. Just as marks are accumulated for those who serve with words, in the same way, service of the yajna, service of the self, and service with the mind also have just as much importance, and you will accumulate just as much from any of those. There is the same amount of marks for even for every type of service. However, those who do all four types of service accumulate that many marks. Those who only do one or two types of services accumulate marks accordingly. Even then, if you are unable to do all four types of service, but are only able to do two types of service, then you can also be a constant server. And because of being constant, your marks increase. This is why Brahmin life means to be a constant server and an easy yogi. Just as you pay attention to having constant remembrance and ensuring that the link of remembrance is constantly forged in the same way, let the link of service too remain constantly forged to experience different stages in remembrance. Sometimes the seed stage, sometimes the angelic form, sometimes churning, sometimes a heart to heart conversation. And although you have different stages, you count that as constant remembrance in the subject of remembrance. In the same way, there are these different forms of service. For a life without doing service is not a life. Let there be remembrance in every breath and service in every breath. This is called balance. Only then will you constantly continue to experience receiving blessings at every moment, and the sound that will constantly and naturally emerge from your heart is that you are being sustained with blessings. You fly with blessings with the experience of the flying stage. You will become free from laboring and battling. You will become free from the questions what, why, and how, and always be happy. You will constantly continue to experience success as your birthright. I don't know what will happen. I don't know whether there will be success or not. I don't know if I will be able to continue in the future or not. Only when these thoughts of I don't know are transformed will you experience the stage of a master Trikardarshi. You will constantly have the faith and intoxication that victory is already guaranteed. These are the signs of blessings. Do you understand? In Brahmin life, in this great age, if you have to labor after you have claimed a right to Bapdada, if you constantly spend your life in a stage of battling, Bapdada cannot bear to see a life of labor in you children. This is why you must become constant yogis and constant servers. Do you understand? Acha. The hopes of the older children have been fulfilled, have they not? Well, well done to the serviceable children who did the service of providing water and gave their cooperation day and night to fulfill the hopes of many children. You became conquerors of sleep and also conquerors of matter. So give thanks to all the servers of Madhuban, whether they made the plants, brought the water, received others comfortably, provided comfortable accommodation, had the meals ready on time to whoever were instruments for all the different types of service. Babdada is giving thanks anyway. The world is crying out for water, and the Father's children are carrying out their task so easily. Babdada continues to see the service of all the serviceable children. The residents of Madhuban have become instruments and are enabling you to receive a chant so comfortably. You too have become cooperative, have you not? Just as those people have become cooperative and you are receiving the fruit of that in the same way, if all of you also continue to move along in the same way, according to the time in every task, many other Brahmins will continue to receive the fruit of your cooperation. Baghdada was smiling. Rivers of milk will flow in the golden age, but at least the water at the conference age has become like ghee. Rivers of ghee are flowing through the taps. Water has become like ghee, and so it has become invaluable, has it not? This way, many will be given a chance. Nevertheless, there is such a big difference between the world and you, Brahmin. All of you have a lot more comfort than those in many other places, and you are getting this practice. Therefore, continue to increase the practice of being one who understands the significance of all secrets and remain happy in every situation. Acha, Baba is giving blessings to all the constantly yogi, constantly serving elevated souls, to those who are always Trikaldarshi and who experience the right to success, to the elevated, constantly happy and content souls, to the children who experience blessings at every second, love, remembrance, and namaste from Bapdada, the bestower of fortune and the bestower of blessings. From us children, love, remembrance, and namaste to our dear Bapdada. When Bapdada is speaking to Dadiji, he says, you had the thought and everyone received the fruit of that elevated thought. You are receiving so many garlands of blessings. Along with the praise of the Father, people also sing praise of those who become instruments. This is why the children are also worshipped with the Father. The Father is not worshipped alone. Everyone is receiving so much happiness. These garlands of blessings give you the right to receive garlands on the path of devotion. Om Shanti. Let's take few moments of silence and reflect on the whole Murli of today's, which is filled with methods and results of service. Shanti. We can start sharing takeaways from today's meeting. There's two chat messages on the chat. Kirjavan says, I am a constant yogi, a constant server. Babdada's blessing equals to balance of remembrance and service. Time, confluence, age, Brahman. Service does not need chances, needs constant remembrance. Four ways of service: service of the self, service of the world, yajna service, service through the mind. Keep doing one service or other, will be a constant server. Never deprive yourself of doing service for even a second. Yes,
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Baba, Baba says the type of services, balance of having, a yogi, constant yogi, and constant server. So one thing Baba said, which I very much liked, it is self-service automatically becomes the world service through our stages. So when we do the self-service, that is actually becoming the world service. And Baba says that service of the self, right? That's the first thing and the most important. So when we have that self-service, we become embodiment of knowledge and remembrance and dharana, right? So we need to check how much am I become perfect in this, and that will become means for others to benefit out of us. So that's where the self-service is becoming the world service. Om
Yes,
Shanti.
Pajit Bhai. Yes, Pajit Bhai. We can ruminate further on this particular aspect where Baba says self-service is one of the methods to become a constant yogi. Can we practically look at what is what is our reflection when Baba says keep doing self-service? What do we mean by self-service? Would anybody like
Yeah.
to? Yeah.
Rakiben, but I don't know how did you hit the target. Actually, that was what was running through my mind. What does Baba mean by self-service? So, because even in yesterday's Avyaktvani, if you see, Baba says, if you're looking at transforming the world, first you have to transform yourself. You have to take a mirror and see how do you look, what is your face, what is your behavior, what is your activity, because that's what the world is going to look at you. So if the world, before I go to the world, if the world is going to look at me, I have to first groom myself. So for that, the basic knowledge is I have to first know myself, understand myself, recognize myself, love myself, respect myself. There are forgive myself. So everything before any service you start, it starts with the self. Because what you're going, you are just an instrument and you're taking what Baba is giving and giving it to the world. So, first, you have to completely groom yourself with that. If you have not understood what is to be done or what is to be given, how the world is going to take. So, so this is do I really, when I say about remembrance, when I say about God, when I say, see, God is going to come, belong to God, do I believe in that concept? Do I know that? Do I think I am a soul and I belong to God? I am a soul and I belong to God. That kind of determination do I have in me? And secondly, it's called as an empathy. Why should I take care of myself? Is it only to bloat up my ego? No. I want the world also to know what I want to give. So my service to the self is not for grooming myself, but for giving it to the world, but for being a mirror. So everywhere, if you go through all these, understanding myself, knowing myself, serving myself, forgiving myself, that managing myself, if we go deeply into each of this at every day, then I can lift up, I can go to the stage and I can say, hello, here, this is what you have to do. Like they say, no, preach before you practice. So it's a very, if you go, it's very detailed service to the self, and sometimes it's too simple also. Where if you understand, so there are various ways of understanding. That's what was running through my mind. What is service to the self, Baba? When you said, "I know everything starts with the self." um, like when I was young, I always used to take self, in SELF, if the ego is removed, it will be a straight line forward. That's how I used to analyze the self. So I think it's a deep turning to understand what I, if suppose I want Raki Ben to preach love, first I have to love myself. So that way I think it's just everything begins with you. Om Shanti.
Yes. While you were sharing that, can I just look at that particular word that you used? It is preach before you practice, is what you said. Typically, how would I see it is practice before you preach. You know? So when Baba says self-service, it's about first, am I
Sorry,
being
slip
an
of the
embodiment?
tongue. Slip
No
of the tongue.
problem. No problem. I just corrected that. Um, because I was just, whether I got it right or not, I don't know. But I said, let me just put it across. It's going to be practice before you preach. And then, how do I do that? So, what reflection that comes to me is, uh, whatever knowledge we're getting from Baba, the values, the virtues, the powers, am I first putting on practice by my own self and having that experience? Because Baba always says the authority of experience will do its work. And maybe that specifically is the reason while we go to center or we connect with senior sisters, brothers, or uh, those souls who are always in the experience that they bring across, the authority of the experience they bring across. They don't have to speak much, only their presence makes a difference. So that was something which was coming to me. I'll request others to share if there's anything, any practical approach that you would want to put across as to how self service can be done.
Shanti, another thing, yeah, just adding on, to do the self-service is um checking that how much am I following Srimad? Because when it comes to Srimad, everybody become number wise, right? Following Srimad. So how much am I able to follow uh, Srimad according my thoughts, my attitude, my words, and my action? Uh, how much am I able to do all this according to Srimad? So that is one good checking that one can do. So that itself will become a self-service, right? So because self-service will uplift us, self-service will only enable others to follow. So when we follow it, right? So that's when others will start following because it's easy to talk knowledge, but it is very difficult to follow knowledge. So it becomes easy to copy somebody's action. It becomes very difficult to copy somebody's words.
Rakiban, if I
Yes.
can just ask Bijit Bhai something. Bijit Bhai, Srimat is the next step. I have to first understand, like I remember, I don't know whether it was yesterday's Murli, two questions: who am I? What am I? I think that, like, so many things, if you say, take the question of who am I? How do I think? How do my thoughts come? How do I control my thoughts? Or even Baba gave us a drill yesterday about how to make your mind powerful. Or how do we, so many questions about your I, who am I? How do you experience feelings? How do you develop? divine traits, or how do I lead life? There are loads and loads of questions. So before even we go to that big constitution of Srimat, that first, the self itself is so much complex. First, who am I? Then what am I? What am I made up of? Am I made? What are the entities which I'm made up of? What is my recipe? Am I this year? Am I this? I think that basic knowledge I have to first. That is why that first lesson Baba says you all have not still completed. I don't know. It's just my sharing. I feel Srimat is the next thing which I have to think to see. Okay, a boundary line. But before that boundary line, I feel there are too many complexities of my I, which I have to not only go through, I have to practice. That's why Baba says, I'm a soul, I'm a soul, I'm a soul. And I love that less line which Baba says, Brikiti ke beech mein chamakta hua ajab sitara. I think this I should, I don't know what word to use for it. I should really be thoroughly revised in this. If somebody asks me, who am I? Da, 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 I should be able to say. I don't know. I feel Shrimat is the next step which I have to see. Just my opinion.
Yeah, I understand. But again, knowledge is required everywhere, right? So the fundamental part of Srimad that is telling us is consider yourself to be a soul and remember Baba, right? So how much am I doing that throughout the day? How much am I understanding myself? So the understanding the self is also Srimad, right? So considering or seeing myself as a soul is also Srimad. Seeing others also Srimad, right? That knowledge is giving us that clear understanding. What am I, right? So when I follow it, when I do it, right, when I see myself as soul, when I see others as soul, that is also Srimad I am following, right?
Yeah, I guess there's going to be very deep churning on this, but there's going to be knowledge first or Srimad first. I think one needs to parallelly look at uh, the entire uh, knowledge from the holistic perspective. And for each one, it's going to be a different way to look at how do I take care of myself? What's the way for serving oneself? So for some, it may work from Srimad, for some, it may work from knowledge, for some, it may work from just picking up values and virtues. It's going to be each to each one. Any other thoughts anybody would like to share further in today's Murli? Yes, Pajita?
Yeah, I think the self-service, another important aspect is purifying the mind. So, because it is the mind that creates all the problems, right? That is where everything starts. So, purifying the mind, where we stop thinking all the waste and the negativity, and you know, and how much am I paying attention to keep a clear mind? And then when I'm free from all this, then of course my mind will be can be used to do service through the mind, having pure thoughts, having good wishes and good feeling towards yourself and towards, of course, others and the world. So to do self-service at a greater stage, purifying the mind or having a pure mind is very essential.
True. And personally, I feel that's the easiest way to do service. Just, just have positive feelings, positive approach, and keep giving good wishes and blessings to everyone around you. Just Kirija, when you unmuted yourself.
I was just trying to take in what Bijit Pai said. There has to be, maybe he took Shrimat to be a checking point, and that is there. What is my Shrimat? It's the Murli. See, we don't have any written constitution book or anything over here, even though I remember those days there used to be in every center a board called as Maryadas and all, and sometimes. But I was just thinking, even yesterday, Baba said, do you have any devilish traits? So that's my Srimad. So for, I think our Srimad is floating. It is more in the case of Sakar Murlis and loaded in the Avyakt Murlis. Lot of Srimad. So I think maybe that's what Bijit Bhai meant when he said that naturally, if suppose I didn't have that checking point, I would be preaching my own knowledge. I would be my Girijasan. Another ism I would be starting. So the checking point to whatever knowledge I give should be strictly only what the source Baba has given. So maybe for that, as a checking point, Srimat, I think, could be the best part. So I was thinking, from where does it come? It comes from the Murli. Yeah, I think that's what I said, the service through the self, and think it's a as and when you think about it, and when you get somebody else shares a point, your mind churns. But for me today, Rakhi Ben, my most uh, close to the heart is Mansa Seva. I really tell you, that's the time of the, especially during COVID and the other times, even COVID also, service to the self was there, but lot is needed is Mansa Seva. As you said, pure feelings, good wishes, pure feelings, good wishes. And so much that influences, attitude influences the atmosphere influences the mind. Like, they're always, uh, they used to say, na, jaisa dhan, vaisa an, jaisa an, vaisa man, and jaisa man, vaisa tan. So this Mansa Seva, if you ask me, that service is very close to my heart. I would really like to explore on it and do more churning. That's the need of the hour, I think. Om Shanti.
Yeah, just to add on to that point, Girjaben, that you brought in, how do I equip myself to do Mansa Seva begins from serving the self. If I am only disturbed, and if I am only uncomfortable with things around, am I ready to do Mansa Seva? That was something which I was looking at when you spoke about Mansa Seva. Yes, it is important. Before I go to Mansa Seva, am I ready to do that? So that was one point of reflection. If anybody else has any other thoughts, you're welcome to share. The power of Mansa Seva is you can be at any given point of time, anywhere, and yet do service. Any thoughts around what Baba is speaking today on balance of service and remembrance?
Yeah, I have to be a constant yogi. Then only I can be a constant server. The word
Mm.
yogi is important. I remember everywhere, it's only remembrance. Without yad, no further subject. Even though it's number two in Baba's list, Baba says knowledge, yoga, and service is fourth. Dharna is third. But I feel at the end it's only remembrance, remembrance, because that remembrance, it gives you an instrument. It gives you so much you can say, you can go in volumes to what you mean by. And I like the word yad. So even today, Baba has said, in Yad, you say even heart to heart conversation is Yad, talking to Baba is Yad. See, so loose Baba has kept the word Yad. He's not saying Yad is just sit down, sit in your Padmasan, listen to me. No, Baba is saying even your heart to heart conversation is remembrance. So when such a big rope Baba is given for remembrance, we also can take a big rope for service. And I was just thinking, why for Baba? Why did you forget service of the elements? Element service is there. You were just saying, remembrance, Raki Ben. It's such a, I want a river still meeting the ocean. It's still running and running. It's a very long journey, Raki Ben.
Yeah, and uh, Raj Yoga only uses a lot of various different varieties in which we can keep our remembrance on. So simple thing like if I am going out of the house, I'll tell Baba, come join me, be with me. Now it's a simple thing, but yet the cycle of remembrance goes on, because for us, remembrance is not just sitting in yoga and looking at the dot, as you mentioned. There's variety, and there are different ways in which we keep on remembering Baba. Yeah, I get that. There's a point that Chandrakala Ben has mentioned. She mentions constant churning Murlis. Understanding is the key. Yeah, and I'm sure each one of us have this experience that whatever is going on in our mind, at least that's been my experience. The next day, Murli comes up with some kind of solutions or a starting point for me to take a choice between what's going on in my mind. So Murli is an answer to a lot of questions that keeps on the thinking mode to the mind.
It was also interesting when Baba said about different types of remembrance, right? Different stages that we
Mm.
remember Baba. So Baba said, one stage is you have the seed stage, and second you have the angelic stage. Third, you do the churning, and then you also do this heart-to-heart conversation. It is all considered to be the kind of remembrance. So of course, the seed stage is the highest. So there we get so much of power, but all other stages are also um, uh, different remembering. So really feeling good, different. This is the way that we are doing the churning, right? So this is also looking at it, right? This is also going to the account of remembrance, then, right?
So,
Rakib, as he said,
mm,
you see, the answer, your question answer is already there in the Mudli. Seed is disciplined. You said when
mm,
you're going out, come on, Baba, join with me. That was just a H to H conversation. Seed is disciplined because why Baba says seed stage? We need volcanic remembrance sometimes to dissolve our sins. H to H conversation is not going to absolve you of your sins. H to H conversation is not going to pass on to the world. As he rightly said, and I like what Chandrakala Ben said, that churning. I must thank you. After only joining this, even earlier, I used to love Murlis. Murli was something close to my heart. But from the time, I don't know, I become crazy when the Murli session goes on. And sometimes, I don't know what churning takes place in me. Each Murli, I go down to the deep point. I loved when that's also something very close, that remembrance, churning. Like going and sitting with Baba, Baba, what did you say? I didn't understand. Like it's so like even in yesterday's Murli, where a child is asking Baba, Baba, can't you see I am doing? Are you not able to see I am doing? itna freedom with Baba. So that Murli churning, I must thank the club. What y'all are doing from this 5 to 6 and for is such, otherwise we would be going back to sleep after Amrit Vela. But I think this is something very, very solid was that sister had shared. Churning Murli. It's so good. Thank you, sister.
Yeah, I agree. And I go back to yesterday's session where Shwetang Bhai brought a very deeper aspect to one of the Murlis that we read the last week on detachment. And I think I'm yet ruminating on that particular point that he brought in, that more the love you increase, you get more opportunity to practice detachment. And that Murli is yet, no, we read almost 4 5 days back, but it is yet getting into much more deeper aspects. And I think each Murli, when we start ruminating further on one single point also, I think the whole different world opens up. Like for me, looking at this particular aspect was very intoxicating. And if you look at practical life also, it shows up in that particular way. So I'm just bringing that particular experience of that one Murli that we were churning yesterday. And as you said, Girija Ben, I think that's the opportunity that Baba gave to all of us to come together and be an instrument in taking up this churning seva for each other. So thank you, Baba, for making us all coming together and giving this opportunity to churn the Murlis further. You know, thank you, Chandrakala Ben and Girija Ben, for bringing this point. That there's so much of deep churning within our own selves and making the chapter of awareness live alive for all of us.
Rakiben, I've shared with you personally. Whenever the Murli session starts, I don't know what happens to me. I go berserk. I'm now even sitting in front of my favorite Brahma Baba. I just said, come on, Baba, enter me. That's I've shared this feeling with you, Raki Ben. Like I'm sitting on a hot tawa and just I don't know how to tell you. It's like I used to like this Amin Sayani's Binaka Geet Mala. It used to
Yes.
really drive me, like that.
Mhm.
I don't know if the
Mhm.
family understands, but that's what is churning for me at this moment. It just comes out. It just
Mhm.
comes out, and it is so much I don't know. Each Murli I find I've lost it. What did I do all these years not going through? I had a very disciplined way of reading Murli, writing questions, answering quizzes, and all. But this is something unique. Only I know it that half an hour time, what Baba does in me, it's something personal. And I've shared this with you many times, Rakibet.
Yes, 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 you did. Yeah, no, when we actually come together and churn as a group, I think the churning goes to the next level. And Baba enables to bring this on a very practical ground on a daily practice. How do you imbibe Baba's knowledge? Yes. Amiben writes Brahmin life is complete only with service plus remembrance. Yes, indeed. Okay, let's move on to remembrance. Vijit Bhai, can you play the song that I've shared with you?
Yeah, just a
Mm.
minute.
Let's sit in Baba's remembrance and churn each word of the song, which emphasizes today's Murli in deeper space.
शिव बाबा को लगते प्यारे शिव बाबा
Om Shanti. Thank you, Baba. Thank you, Divine Family. See you tomorrow morning at 5 a.m.